He glanced past me at his framed diploma and declared, "Your methods are outdated and inefficient. We need modern solutions." My name's Ethan Crowley. I'm 58 years old, and until about 10 minutes ago, I was the Senior Systems Administrator at St. James Medical Center in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. For 15 years, I kept the digital heartbeat of a 300-bed hospital running smoothly. And just like that, in a 20-minute meeting, it was all gone. Blake Winter sat behind what used to be Dr. Harrison's desk. He's 42, holds an MBA, and has zero medical experience. 4 months into his role as our new director, and he was already swinging the axe. His consultant Devin leaned against the window, thumbs flying over his phone, probably updating his LinkedIn profile before I even left the building. Blake continued, "The consulting team will be managing the transition to a cloud-based architecture. We've prepared a severance package, 2 months' salary, and a standard non-disclosure agreement." I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of my ID badge against my chest. 15 years of flawless service, not a single system crash under my watch, not during the 2018 ransomware attack, not when the power grid failed in 2020, not even when budget cuts forced me to lose half my staff and work 80-hour weeks to keep everything running. Blake slid a folder across the desk. "The security team will escort you to gather your personal belongings. We'll need your access card and credentials." I unclipped my badge and set it down carefully. "All master passwords are stored on the secure drive, fully documented." "That's excellent," Blake said, smiling for the first time. "I'm glad you're taking this reasonably, Ethan. Change is hard but necessary." I glanced at Devin, maybe 30 years old, already moving forward to claim my chair. He hadn't asked me a single question about our systems during his 3-week evaluation. Blake asked, "Is there anything else?" I should have told him about the custom patches I created. I should have mentioned the integration between the old pharmacy system and patient records. I should have warned him about the specialized backup protocols. But instead, I just said, "No, nothing else." I walked out with the security guard, passing nurses who'd called me at 3 a.m. when the systems glitched, passing the surgical scheduling desk where I'd rebuilt the database after corruption, passing 15 years of quiet, reliable service. In the parking lot, I slid into my truck, set my cardboard box of family photos and coffee mugs on the passenger seat, and drove away without looking back. They didn't want my expertise. They wanted me gone. It would be exactly 1 week before they realized what they'd lost. I started at St. James right after my 50th birthday. Moving from private tech to healthcare wasn't my plan, but the economy tanked and Catherine's cancer treatments were expensive. The hospital offered stability and decent insurance, so I took the job and learned medical systems from the ground up. In those early years, I worked with Dr. Harrison, the old director. He understood what really mattered. "Fancy dashboards don't save lives, Ethan," he used to say. "Reliability does." So I built systems that were reliable, redundant backups, fail-safes, manual overrides when necessary. Not flashy, but bulletproof. I skipped vacations to upgrade the electronic prescribing platform. Missed my daughter Megan's college graduation to manage an emergency server migration. Catherine understood. "You're keeping people alive," she'd tell me before the cancer took her 8 years ago. The hospital became my life. The staff became my family. Nurse Jacobs in oncology always brought me coffee during late system updates. Dr. Patel in cardiology stopped by with donuts after I fixed critical issues. Even Louise, the janitor, kept me company during overnight maintenance. Everything changed when Dr. Harrison retired last winter. The board brought in Blake Winters from some prestigious hospital network in Chicago. His first move was to schedule an efficiency audit. I noticed the cracks right away. Blake skipped at briefings and never asked about our system architecture. He just nodded impatiently in meetings, checking his watch. Then came Devin and his team of consultants, matching polo shirts, buzzwords like digital transformation, cloud migration, and system modernization. I tried explaining our specialized setup. The patient record system integrates with 17 different platforms, some commercial, some custom-built. We've handled dozens of hospital migrations, Devin interrupted. It's all standard stuff. Warning signs flashed everywhere. System maps appeared on conference room walls, but entire infrastructure sections were missing. Questions about critical connections were ignored. My emails outlining security protocols got polite thanks, but no follow-ups. One Friday, I found contractors measuring my office. "Just planning renovations," one said without meeting my eyes. That night, I updated my resume. Something told me to prepare, but part of me couldn't believe they'd fire the one person who understood how it all fit together. I was wrong. They didn't just want a new system. They wanted a new story, one without the old guy reminding them of risks. 2 days after the firing, the truth hit me. Sitting in my living room, surrounded by classified job listings and half-eaten takeout, my phone buzzed nonstop with messages from hospital staff. "What's the backup process for surgical scheduling again?" Alan from IT texted. "Where's the pharmacy interface configuration?" Denise, the database admin, asked. I didn't reply. My termination agreement was clear. No unauthorized help. It wasn't relief or satisfaction that I felt. It was a cold, heavy certainty. They had no clue what they'd done. Our hospital systems weren't software you could swap out like a light bulb. They were living, interconnected systems I'd built over 15 years. Custom interfaces between incompatible vendor platforms, workarounds for regulatory demands, manual processes where automation failed. I documented everything. Hundreds of pages of specs, configuration notes, emergency procedures, all stored securely. But documentation can't replace understanding, can't replace 15 years of institutional knowledge, can't replace me. My phone rang. Blake's number. I let it go to voicemail. "Ethan, we're having integration issues with the pharmacy system. Just a quick question. Call me back." I deleted the message and poured another cup of coffee. 3 more calls came that day, each voicemail more urgent than the last. I deleted them all. That evening, Dr. Patel called me from his personal phone. "Ethan, did you hear what happened today? The emergency department couldn't access patient history for a trauma case. They had to reach out directly to previous hospitals, which took nearly 40 minutes just to obtain the patient's medication allergy information." Closing my eyes, I breathed a silent sigh of relief. No one was harmed this time, but Blake's new management team was clearly overwhelmed. Rumors floated that they might have to revert temporarily to paper records. A quiet calm washed over me. Not vindictiveness or satisfaction, just a clear-eyed understanding. For a decade and a half, I'd remained unnoticed whenever everything operated flawlessly. The endless nights without sleep, missing important family moments, and constant watchfulness were all in service of the hospital's smooth operation, enabling doctors to provide care, nurses to deliver correct medication, and ultimately to save lives. The only thing that mattered was maintaining the system's stability, and now that system was faltering. "I'm sorry to hear things are falling apart," I said carefully. "Blake has been asking around if anyone has your personal phone number," Dr. Patel added. "The consultants seem out of their depth." I thought of the backup server tucked behind a maintenance panel in the server room, the fireproof safe-holding paper manuals in my old office, and the complex authentication chains that would expire in exactly 12 days without manual intervention. "I hope they manage," I replied quietly. Once the call ended, I walked over to my desk and retrieved a business card I'd held onto for years. Jennifer Walsh, Director of Technology at Riverside Medical Center. She had reached out to recruit me 3 times over the years. Revenge wasn't my goal. I just wanted to work somewhere that respected my experience. I picked up the phone and dialed her number. Monday morning brought a flood of emails. 17 messages from Blake, each subject line growing more desperate. Quick question about patient database. Urgent cardiology system failure. Critical issue. Need emergency help. I read everyone but didn't reply. My severance agreement didn't obligate me to clean up their disasters. The last email dropped all pretenses. Ethan, tell us your consulting rate. Whatever you want, we need you back immediately. Just as I was composing a professional refusal, the doorbell rang. There stood Blake Winter on my porch, tie askew, eyes bloodshot. "Ethan," he said with a forced smile, "thanks for meeting with me. Can we talk?" I invited him inside, offered coffee, and waited. "We've run into unexpected challenges with the system migration," he explained, clutching his mug. "Devin's team is working non-stop, but parts of your architecture are proving tricky to navigate." I nodded. I documented everything in detail. Yes, the documentation exists. He leaned in. But some of these custom integrations are quite unique. In other words, they couldn't grasp 15 years' worth of specialized work in just 5 days. Yesterday, oncology lost access to treatment protocols for 6 hours, Blake said. The day before, billing and insurance systems completely failed. We're facing serious compliance violations and potential patient safety risks. I sipped my coffee calmly. Sounds like modernization is off to a smooth start. His face tightened. "Ethan, I'm ready to offer you a 6-month implementation consultant contract, double your previous salary. We need you to guide this transition." The offer felt like an insult. They'd fired me, but expected me to come back and train those who replaced me. "I've already accepted another job," I said. Blake froze mid-sip. "Where?" "At Riverside Medical Center." "Riverside?" "Yes." Blake set his mug down heavily. "Ethan, be reasonable. You built these systems. You know them better than anyone. This is about patient care." His words stung, but they were meant to. For 15 years, I'd prioritized patient care above all else, above family, health, and even my own life. "I agree," I said cautiously. "Patient care is the top priority. That's why I warned against rushing this migration without thorough transition planning. That warning is documented in my emails." Blake's face reddened. "The board demanded immediate action. Modernization is vital for the hospital's future." "I start at Riverside next Monday," I interrupted. "I wish you all the best," I added. He stood abruptly, desperation turning to anger. "Your severance includes a non-compete. You can't work for a competitor for 6 months." For the first time, I smiled. "No, it doesn't. My lawyer reviewed it thoroughly before I signed. There's a non-disclosure agreement, but no non-compete clause. I'm free to work wherever I choose." Blake's expression darkened. "So this is about revenge, making us suffer because I let you go." I opened the door for him. "This isn't about revenge. It's about finding a place that values 15 years of expertise instead of dismissing it as obsolete. Good luck with your modernization, Director Winters." Once he left, I sat down and finished my coffee. I didn't feel victorious or spiteful, just exhausted and a bit sad. My phone buzzed with a message from Dr. Patel. "The administration's in full panic mode. 3 departments down. Emergency board meeting called." I saved the message silently, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of the cost of disregarding experience. By Thursday, the local news had picked up the story. System failures plague St. James Medical Center. Patient care impacted. Watching from my living room, I saw a reporter standing outside the hospital where I'd dedicated 15 years. Inside sources confirmed multiple departments had experienced technology breakdowns following the recent IT leadership change. The reporter noted the hospital had been forced to implement emergency paper protocols as experts scrambled to restore critical systems. My phone rang. Jennifer Walsh from Riverside. "Seeing the news about St. James," she said. "Are you doing okay?" "I'm fine," I replied, "looking forward to starting Monday." "About that," Jennifer said, "I just got a call from someone on St. James's board, a Dr. Eleanor Hughes. I remember Dr. Hughes, the head of surgery, one of the few board members who actually understood what my team did." "What did she say?" "She wanted to confirm you accepted our offer," Jennifer said, "and shared some interesting details about the situation at St. James." I straightened up. "What details?" "Apparently, Director Winters didn't replace you on a whim. He's been collaborating with Helix Solutions Group for months." The name hit me hard. Helix Solutions was notorious in healthcare tech circles, taking over hospital IT operations, then hiking prices once their proprietary platforms became indispensable. Blake had brought in their consultants as part of a larger arrangement. Jennifer explained, "Helix offered the board significant upfront savings. If St. James switched to their platform, Blake would receive a performance bonus tied to cost reductions." Suddenly, everything made sense. My firing wasn't about modernization. It was all about clearing the way for a corporate takeover of our hospital systems. Jennifer explained that the board hadn't fully grasped the technical consequences. They placed their trust in Blake's claim that the transition would be seamless. I thought about the specialized systems I had painstakingly built, systems designed to put patient care first, not just corporate efficiency. These were tools crafted to support doctors and nurses, not billing departments. "How severe is the situation?" I asked. Jennifer hesitated before replying. Dr. Hughes said emergency patients had to be diverted to other hospitals. Critical care units were relying on manual protocols. The state compliance office had launched an investigation. I shut my eyes tightly. This wasn't what I ever wanted. I never wished for patients to suffer. "There's more," Jennifer added. Dr. Hughes mentioned that before Blake presented the Helix proposal, he required all department heads to sign off on a technology assessment. That assessment labeled our systems obsolete, non-compliant, and high risk for failure. "That's not true," I snapped, anger finally surfacing. "We passed every compliance audit with flying colors. Last year alone, our uptime was 99.98%. Dr. Hughes now understood the reality. The board was beginning to see they'd been deceived. After ending the call, I opened my laptop and found an email from Dr. Hughes herself, sent just an hour earlier. "Ethan, I owe you an apology," it began. "The board approved Blake's IT restructuring based on incomplete and misleading information. We have since learned that the supposedly outdated systems you maintained actually exceeded all industry standards for reliability and security. Blake and Helix presented false comparisons and manipulated performance data to justify their actions. The situation has escalated to the point that we have called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. I would like to invite you to attend and share your perspective. There is no obligation, but many of us would value hearing directly from you. Regardless of your decision, know that many on the board now realize the injustice done to you and our hospital." Signed, Eleanor Hughes, Maryland. I leaned back, letting the weight of the truth settle around me. This was never just about firing a loyal employee. It was a calculated move to dismantle a functioning system for profit. On Friday morning, I arrived at the hospital boardroom 15 minutes early, just like I always had during my 15 years there. Several board members were already seated, including Dr. Hughes, who greeted me with a firm handshake and a grateful nod. "Thank you for coming, Ethan," she said. "I wasn't sure you would," I admitted. The room quickly filled with department heads, administrators, and doctors I had worked alongside for years. Blake arrived last and stopped short when he saw me at the table. The Helix consultant, Devin, followed behind, looking far less confident than the day I was fired. Dr. Hughes called the meeting to order. We're here to address the ongoing system failures and reconsider our partnership with Helix Solutions. She turned to me. Dr. Crowley has kindly agreed to provide his assessment. All eyes fixed on me. For 15 years, I had worked quietly behind the scenes, solving problems without fanfare. Now, I was in the spotlight. The systems at St. James were built over a decade and a half to meet very specific needs. I began my explanation. Every customization, every interface was created to solve real challenges faced by medical staff. These weren't outdated systems. They were finely tuned tools. I connected my laptop to the projector. The screen displayed the meticulous documentation I had maintained, hundreds of pages detailing every part of the hospital's digital infrastructure. All the information needed to support these systems is here, I said. Complete documentation, contingency plans, security protocols. The issue isn't the documentation. The problem is that Helix's platform is incompatible with the specialized systems this hospital depends on. Blake interrupted. The compatibility issues are temporary. Helix has successfully rolled out their solutions in dozens of hospitals. I brought up my second document, a detailed comparison I had prepared overnight. These are the hospitals where Helix operates their platform. Notice anything? Dr. Patel leaned forward. They're all newly built or recently constructed facilities. Exactly, I said. Helix works well in hospitals built from scratch on their platform, but retrofitting their system into established hospitals with legacy requirements, that's where they falter. I turned directly to Blake. Helix knew this before coming here. Their own technical specs, which I've highlighted, reveal incompatibilities with our pharmacy and radiology systems. Board members exchanged uneasy glances. Dr. Hughes addressed Blake. Were you aware of these incompatibilities when you recommended Helix? Blake faltered. The assessment said transition challenges would be minimal. The assessment you personally oversaw, I cut in, pulling up an email from a former colleague. This is the same assessment where you instructed staff to emphasize vulnerabilities and downplay system stability. A hush fell over the room. I wasn't there for revenge. I was there for the truth. The fact is, I continued, St. James cannot function on Helix's platform without sacrificing the specialized workflows that make this hospital exceptional. Not without years of careful transition planning. Dr. Hughes glanced at her colleagues. I think we have enough information to make an informed decision. Blake stood. You can't seriously consider abandoning modernization based on the opinion of a disgruntled ex-employee. Dr. Patel spoke up. In the last week, we've diverted 67 emergency patients. 3 surgeries were delayed. Medication errors increased by 12%. Those aren't opinions, Director Winters. They're facts. 20 minutes later, the board voted. The Helix contract was terminated immediately. An emergency restoration plan was approved to reinstate the previous systems. As I packed up my laptop, Dr. Hughes approached me. The board has another proposal for you, Ethan, if you're willing to listen. I glanced at Blake, who stood defeated by the door. I'm listening, I said. 3 weeks later, I walked through the hospital's main entrance wearing a new ID badge, Ethan Crowley, Chief Technology Officer. The turnaround wasn't easy. The Helix team had left behind significant problems, including corrupted key databases. My new team, a mix of former colleagues and new hires, worked tirelessly to restore systems, rebuild interfaces, and recover lost data. Blake was gone, pursuing other opportunities. The official announcement stated I hadn't requested his removal, but I wasn't sorry to see him leave. I stopped by the cardiology nurses' station where Nurse Jacobs greeted me with a broad smile. Systems are running as smooth as silk again, she said. Patient records now load in under 2 seconds. That's good to hear, I replied. Any other issues? Not since you returned. It's like night and day. As I continued making my rounds, Dr. Patel fell in step beside me. "Heading to the board meeting?" he asked. I nodded. "Quarterly technology review. First time I'm at the big table instead of stuck in the corner with a slideshow." He chuckled. We entered the boardroom where hospital leadership was assembling. Dr. Hughes, now serving as interim director, gave me a nod. "Mr. Crowley, we're eager to hear your department's update." I hooked my laptop up to the projector. On the screen appeared a clean dashboard displaying system performance, uptime stats, and comparisons from before and after the Helix fiasco. "Recovery is complete," I announced. "All systems have been fully restored without any data loss. We've also put additional safeguards in place to prevent similar disruptions going forward." Dr. Hughes scrutinized the metrics, as well as the modernization plans Director Winters had worried so much about. I switched slides to reveal my 5-year technology roadmap, a deliberate, step-by-step strategy to evolve our systems without sacrificing patient care. "True modernization," I said, "doesn't mean tearing down what works. It means building on that foundation." The board voted unanimously to approve the plan. 6 months later, I sat on my back deck with a cup of coffee, watching the sun dip below the horizon. My phone buzzed with a message from Jennifer Walsh at Riverside. "Heard St. James just earned the Regional Excellence in Healthcare Technology Award. Congratulations, almost colleague." I smiled and typed back, "Thanks. Sorry for the last-minute career change. No hard feelings. You're exactly where you're meant to be." She was right. I belonged at St. James, not as the invisible guy I'd been for 15 years, but now as the Chief Technology Officer. I had a voice in the decisions shaping patient care, a seat at the table where I could defend the systems that truly mattered. The hospital had learned its lesson the hard way. Experience can't be replaced by buzzwords. Loyalty isn't something to dismiss as outdated. I scrolled through my camera roll to a photo from last week's staff appreciation dinner. My team standing proud, a blend of seasoned veterans and fresh faces, each contributing valuable insight. The plaque on the table recognized our department's role in advancing patient care. In those 15 years before my firing, I'd never been publicly acknowledged for keeping the hospital running smoothly. Now, my expertise was seen, respected, and valued. Sometimes I thought about Blake, wondering if he'd taken anything away from this ordeal. Last I heard, he joined a healthcare startup promising to revolutionize hospital administration. Some lessons just take longer to sink in. My new ID badge rested on the table beside me. I picked it up, running my thumb over the title, Chief Technology Officer. No longer just the guy who kept the lights on. Now, someone helping guide the hospital's future. I never wanted revenge. What I sought was recognition, not for my ego, but for the simple truth that experience matters. Some things can't be replaced, repackaged, or disrupted without serious consequences. Sometimes the most innovative approach is simply to respect what already works.